Welcome to Beginner Landscape Painting Video 4. In this video, I'm going to show you a summarized version of how I complete the final painting. Let's take a look at what I have on the board here. Here's my original photo reference, here's my value map, and here is another sketch I did. It's black and white, it's more elaborate than the value map, but I've also made some decisions and changed some things around. In the value map, my lightest areas are the sky patches, which is true to the photo, but as a result, it does not lead the viewer's eye to this tree here, which is my focal point. So I've changed that around in this sketch and made the tree the lightest area, darkened up those sky patches, and also had a lighter patch of grass which will lead the viewer's eye into this image here. And even when I do the final painting, this light patch of grass is going to be slightly darker than the tree. Again, this is my focal point. This is where I want to lead people. I also have a very high contrast between black and very light areas, which also draws the viewer's eye. The focal point should have the most detail and the greatest amount of contrast between black and white, or dark and light values. That being said, I have now corrected my value map and will work from this accordingly. When working with my reference photo, I am now going to place a grid over it. Go up to Canvas, Composition, Show Layout Grid. This will enable me to transfer the proportions and shapes of this reference photo onto my final canvas. Next, I'm going to create a new document which will be my actual painting. Let's look at the size of this first of all. We go up to Canvas, Resize, and we see that this is 9.9 by 7 at 300 ppi. So let's create the same size document. File, New, and let's make this 9.9, 7 at 300 ppi. Let's choose a color. You can click on this and actually choose any color that you like. Press OK. This paper is going to be this canvas paper here from Painter 2015 papers. And now I'm just going to click on this and say OK, and a new document is created. I can move these around. There we go. This is actually the same size now as my reference photo, roughly almost 10 by 7. At this point now, I can choose to add a little bit of a canvas weave before I even begin painting. So go up to Window and down to Paper Panels and open up Papers right here. Now, if I like this weave, I can choose this weave. I can decide to decrease the contrast, increase the contrast, change the size of the weave, make it smaller. I like to keep it about 100%, more or less. Okay. Then I go up to Window, and Effects, Surface Control, and over to Apply Surface Texture. I'm going to choose from Paper, and you can see the weave is already applied. The more I increase the amount, the more pronounced it gets. And when I increase the softness, you can really see this weave. But I am going to push this back also. I want it to be really very, very subtle. Press OK. And if I zoom in, you can see the canvas weave right there. Here I've gone ahead and added another layer. And this is basically another value map slash sketch, a very refined sketch. I've included my rule of thirds here, my layout grid, so that I could more accurately draw what I see in my reference photo onto my canvas. And I want you to notice that I've lowered the horizon line a little bit here. I brought it down even lower to add more drama and to emphasize the tall height of the trees in the background. I've also emphasized the light area on the foliage here in my focal tree over here, and some light areas here that are going to be stepping stones to this tree. I've moved this white stone, which I really like, into my focal area. So these are some of the things that I've changed on this sketch. And I want to emphasize you cannot sketch enough. Don't say, oh, I only need to do one sketch or 2 sketches before I start the final painting. Keep drawing and drawing and drawing. Every time you sketch a painting, before you actually paint it, you will only improve in your perception as to what is going on in the landscape. Now I've added a second layer over the top, and I'm going to start adding color to this image. Again, I've got a pretty detailed map here, and I can choose to erase those details or paint right over them. But at least I have more of an idea of what I want to do with this original image. And notice how I have changed things, but again, keeping it believable. Also, drawing is fairly important to me, because inaccurate drawing, it will lead your eye away from the focal point and away from the message that you're trying to convey. It's a tremendous distraction, so always work on your drawing. I'm going to start with my darkest darks first. Now notice this image is mostly green, and that is the local color. Local color means the actual color of an object. So the trees are green, the grass is green, the sky is blue, but I'm going to add blues and purples and dark blues in the shadows, maybe some deep turquoises, oranges and yellows in the lighter foliage, the foliage that's caught by the sun. So you have some artistic license there as well with color, as long as you stick to the proper value. So let's begin by adding some very dark darks, and I'm going to just paint right over here where I see it, like so. Also, I want you to make sure you have your blending palette open and check enhanced layer blending. If this is unchecked, you're going to get these white spots as this brush blends. So make sure that this is checked, and then you can just happily paint away. Let's get some really dark areas in here. Now, if you want this brush to show more texture, we have just reduced the number up here, but it will show actually more texture, some of the texture of the canvas. Turquoise. I'm reducing the size of my brush. Again, these are the shadows. Sure that I don't lose my darks. Now I've opened up a new document right here, which I'm using as a scratch board, and I'm using a new brush, the Sargent brush, which can be found in Artist Favorites. It is my favorite brush in Painter, and I've loved it since my first introduction to Painter. It's a very thick, oily looking brush, and you can do a lot with it. So I'm going to be proceeding with this brush as well as the Chunky Oil Pastel. By the way, you can line up again all of your brushes that you have currently used by going to Window and go to Recent Brushes. So if I uncheck this, this disappears. If I recheck this, I get a whole lineup of the brushes that I've just used. Now I've added more layers to this painting, and I basically made it a predominantly blue painting and changed the lighting a bit. Now I have the accent on the light coming from the top of the tree. The tree is still my focal point, but it's giving off a bluish light which affects everything. Even though all the objects in this landscape have their local color, they are affected by that bluish light coming through the trees. So I'm going to leave the painting as is and finish it up in video 5, predominantly with the Sargent brush.